Hello Buttercup, welcome back to my channel. Today's short story review is The Box by Jack Ketchum. And I'm trying not to make a Pokemon joke with his last name, but I'm gonna hold back and I'm just gonna say I love that last name because Pokemon. No, he has nothing to do with Pokemon or anime or anything like that. This story, about 15 pages, is more like a horror or a psychological thriller. I'm not completely sure, but it's one of those. And it's pretty good for a short story. I usually don't like short stories. Guessing, I don't know, 15 pages at like 12-point font. That's a loud car, sorry. I need the windows open because it's hot but in the house, but it's cold outside. Sorry if you hear weird background noise, it's because the window's open. Anyway, sorry, what was I thinking about? Oh yeah, 12-point font, 15 pages. Let's just say it's 5,000 words. I think it was pretty well fleshed out, though rushed in some ways, and that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. That's kind of why I don't like short stories in the first place. We follow the father, and I forget his name, or if they even mention his name. Sometimes in stories, they don't mention the main character's name because it's in first person, it's you know? So bad with names. So if it was mentioned, oopsie, he's just the main character who's a dad to 3 children. He has a wife, and it's 1 boy and 2 girls, and we start out, which the dad and the children are on a bus, and there's this random guy who has a very fancy box, and his son wants to see what's in the box, and he does, and the man gets off at the next stop. But something happens regarding that box, whatever's in that box, that his son stops eating. And he is losing weight really fast, but he's really happy. And so it just doesn't make sense. And then it just all tumbles down from there at eventually his son tells his daughters, and then I think the daughters tell the mom, or the son and the daughters tell the mom. But at a certain point, everyone's starving, and then it goes downhill fast, and then everyone dies except the dad, and the dad's just like, what the hell happened? What's in the damn box? And his whole thing is like, I'm going to find the person with the box to figure out why my wife and 3 kids died, and why I wasn't affected, and or like why they didn't tell me what was in the box. And he's like thinking, oh, because I'm used to being lonely, which I don't know how that really connects. Maybe I missed that point, but I guess he grew up lonely and he didn't have a family, so he has like this loneliness inside of him. That means that he's not as connected as his wife and 3 kids were with one another. Okay, weird point. That also didn't make complete sense to me personally. So that was like, that's why, another reason why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But I want to know what's in the damn box. And I was talking to Patrick, who recommended this short story to me and gave it to me. Must be something magical, because nothing came out of the box or anything like that. The son just looked into it just for a few seconds and then came back and was like, I'm going to starve myself to death. Like, what? And I do think that the man was probably, it was like the devil, or maybe some other, like a demon, or some other like other being who's evil, or maybe not just evil, just like a trickster maybe, that doesn't care about humans, so that other being thinks it's funny and he just goes around messing with humans. I don't know. 3 options, but I can see how it could be the devil or demon, or like a trickster other being that thinks it's funny to mess with humans, because the son and then the two other kids and the wife are happy to die. Like, there's no sadness in them, but they're refusing to eat. So I'm thinking also the box could be like, they think that they saw, or the son thought he saw heaven, and so he described heaven so well to the other three people that then they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to starve myself to death as well because we're going to heaven together. Or maybe not even heaven, just like an afterlife. Because why would you starve yourself to death? That is not a good way to go. But it was specifically, I'm not going to eat because I'm not hungry, but I'm happy to go about my life without food. I could be missing something, but that's where my mind took me. Though I wanted it to be a little more fleshed out. That's why I kind of think that short stories are not always the best. Because I think there could have been more, like even just another scene or two of testing the mind, testing the body, and also realistically, what was it, like for the son, he goes first from starvation. It takes more than a month, which people don't like to hear, but no, it takes a really long time, especially if you're eating well in the beginning, to then die of starvation, unless whatever he saw in the box accelerated starvation. But then that doesn't completely make sense for the two daughters and the wife because they didn't look into the box. So I just think that the author got the timeline of starvation wrong, because it's more than a month. It's more than a few months. It takes a while to starve to death. And a lot of things happen before you're starving to death and you die from starvation, which wasn't really talked about or explained whatsoever in the short story. And so I think it would have made a little more sadness for me if we saw that, but it was really just like, oh, the psychologist said something's wrong. No, really, there's something wrong because your whole family except the dad's not eating now, but they're happy about not eating and dying. Okay, yeah, something's wrong. Thank you, psychologist. And then they get right onto an IV drip, but it's too late. It's only been 3 weeks, and then it goes into a month, and they're still on the IV drip. So that is not pleasant whatsoever, but they're not going to die a day later after they're put on an IV drip because it's only been 3 weeks. Now, if they're not drinking water and hydrating, then yes, it will take only 4 days, 5 days max to die from dehydration, lack of water, but this is starvation, so it's going to take a little bit. So that was another main reason I didn't give it 5 out of 5 stars. I know it can be tough figuring out how to write that type of timeline, especially if you want to make it faster for a short story, but I mean, I did that a bit with my third book where Sarah is locked away in her room and she does not have access to water or food. The food part isn't the problem. You can go 4 days without food and not die. You cannot go 4 days without water. You're gonna die. She just happens to make it through because it rains and she gets a vase and drinks the water collected from the vase. There was no mention of water. So there's a little disconnect there. And then also why the starvation in particular took so fast to happen. Because they were eating very well before, so it's not like they were already starving. They were a good weight. That was my hang-up for the short story. It could have been fleshed out a bit more, even if it was just an extra few pages where the main character, the dad, was talking about how it's been a while and they're not seeing any progress with the drip and the force feeding and all that stuff, and then all 3 of them die, okay, then that would make sense, but that wasn't really talked about. It was done really fast. And that's for basically all short stories. Because they're short, I get it. Yes, okay. But yeah, I just like things a little fleshed out, so it makes more sense, especially if we're talking about the body and something as important as starvation. And what does that do? And it's not even just about eating disorders. I don't think this would be something talking about an eating disorder, because I think there is a magical element to this. Maybe there is a point made that I'm missing about eating disorders. I don't think so, though, because it's not tracking with how you die from starvation. So I'm not 100% sure on the meaning of this story overall. Do I want to know what's in the box? Absolutely. Okay. And that's what I said to Patrick at the end. I was like, what's in the damn box? And I understand the father's thought process of 3 of his loved ones die in succession really fast. What the hell is going on? And he goes out and he wants to find the person with the box and look in the box and or kill the man with the box. I get that. That's basically that's my feeling as well, and I think that was the whole point of the ending. So at least thumbs up for the ending. I get it, but like in between, could have added some extra words. Bump up that word count. It would still be considered a short story, so it's not like you're teetering on a novella or even a novel, so it's totally fine. But that is my review of The Box by Jack Ketchum, and if you have about 20 minutes to spare and you want to bump up that Goodreads reading challenge, I suggest The Box. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.